Some years back, looking through photographs, you probably will not find any photographs of me in any of our family Thanksgiving holiday dinners. I'm Jill Russell. Thank you for joining us for Happy Skin Over 50 or 60 or 70. The reason you wouldn't find me in photographs because the Tuesday or Wednesday before our Thursday holiday Thanksgiving every year, I just was going for my monthly facial anyway, and I would have hair removed off my face. I couldn't resist. And besides the hair, it removed skin. We have someone here today with an alternative that would have helped me back then because it sure helps me now. I want to introduce you to Shannon O'Brien, aka Sugar Mama. And have we got you on?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Okay. Now, the first thing we want to know, how did you get the moniker Sugar Mama?
My clients actually named me that. I have been an esthetician for 20 years and it's 2022. Let's see, about 12 years ago, I started sugaring and introduced it to my clients, and they kept calling me their sugar mama, calling me their sugar mama. Oh, they need to head over to the sugar shack, calling me their sugar mama. And it just stuck. And so we decided to keep calling me the sugar mama, and it just felt right. I was a single mom at the time, and it just fit because everybody needs a sugar mama in their speed dial, right?
Oh, everybody does, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the alternative to the hot wax, soft wax, hard wax, cold wax, muslin strips, peel-on strips that also years ago, even because my skin was thinner in my younger years as well, it will top a couple of layers off. It wasn't just removing hair. And so, of course, I had skin abrasions, and my family would start warning me before the holiday to please don't go do that. Don't do that. But I couldn't resist. I just had to. I wanted to look pretty, and every time I had skin abrasions, big sores. So let's talk about the alternative that you have to offer.
Let's talk about sugar. I love talking about sugar, and I love getting sugared, and I love sugaring people. So anytime you want to talk to me about sugar is great. We all have some hair we want to remove, whether it's those darn hormonal hairs on the chin or the lip. We all have that hair that we just want to get off. And I have found in my years as an esthetician that when I switched to sugar, I realized how much more gentle it was for the skin. And when I had it done, and I wanted to make sure that I brought that to all of my clients. So, Jill, let me start out by saying, oh, we're side by side now. Let me start out by saying that I am part of the 50 club. I have 51. So I officially count as part of the 50 club. So thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Um, it has been a journey, I will tell you, in the skincare world. I've been doing aesthetics for about 21 years now, and I have seen everything under the sun done to the skin. But when I got sugared, I realized that because what a lot of people don't know about me is I have a big, bold personality, but I'm kind of a wuss. So I never liked having waxing because it hurt me, and I didn't like having hot plastic put on my skin. And the older I get, I definitely don't want anything that's going to cause trauma to my skin. And that's how I found sugar. So I like to share with my clients and my students. I teach students all over the world how to do this body sugaring technique. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're someone who wants to get sugared, we have resources for you to find a sugar pro in your area, and we can chat about that after. But I always talk about carrots growing in a garden, and I always have my little carrot with me, and people think I'm crazy until they see the explanation. So back in the day, or even now, people that get waxed, if you think about taking hair out of your body, it's much like pulling carrots out of a garden. So if this green leafy part, if you will, is like the hair that, say, on your arm grows up over the surface, this carrot is actually down underneath the skin inside the follicle. So your follicle looks like this, and this is your nice little hair sitting there, and this is your crazy hormonal chin hair sticking out, if you can imagine a carrot growing in there. Now, when you were waxing back in the day, the esthetician would put a hot resin over the top of your skin, and it would actually shrink and wrap around the hair that was on top of the surface, right? Then that esthetician would put the strip on and rip the hair against the direction of hair growth. Well, that was causing damage to your sweet little follicle. And we do not need to be causing any more damage to our sweet little follicles, especially as we move down the path of life farther in years, right? So that's what was happening when you were getting waxed. And probably you were getting abrasions because of the heat, because of maybe the type of product they were using on the skin, and also because it was ripping that carrot out against the direction of hair growth. And this carrot was probably snapping down low, and it was causing irritation to your skin. So with shaving, okay, so there's the hair sitting back again on top of the surface. With shaving, we shave off the hair, which is why you feel the little stubbles by the afternoon, right? Because that carrot is still there. We've just shaved off the top. And with depilatories back in the day, you remember Neat and some of the other bleaches, that we would burn off the skin on our face. And that was actually just sizzling this little green leafy part. It would sizzle it away and we would wipe it off. Remember how stinky that was?
That's equivalent to a permanent wave, but not putting a neutralizer on.
Yes, and it just destroys the hair.
No neutralizer.
That can't be good for the skin. No. Right. But with sugar is lemon, sugar, and water condensed down into a paste. So I brought some for you here to see. This is not hot. It will never burn you. So we take this beautiful ball of sugar. And again, this is not hot. And it's so natural. I could eat it. It's just lemon, sugar, and water. So when we actually roll this over the skin, we go opposite. So the hair is growing this way. We go opposite the direction of hair growth, get up under those hairs, and we're sliding that the temperature is like room temperature. We're sliding that over the skin. We do it a few times to kind of coat that hair, but it's wrapping around the orange part, if you will, of the carrot. And it slides down and wraps around the whole hair and slides the hair out with the direction of hair growth. So there's no heat to irritate the skin. The sugar actually only adheres to the dead skin cells that are on the top of the skin. And we're sliding that carrot out of the follicle, the direction that it wants to grow. So we're not making that follicle angry. So sugar, as you can imagine, is a lot less damaging to the skin. And like I said, when your skin is getting thinner or you've been using aggressive products on the skin, or maybe you're medically sensitive, hormones and medications that people are on will cause them to be medically sensitive sometimes. And sugar actually is a more gentle way to remove that hair and not have that redness and irritation and even sometimes burning of the skin. So
it's still exfoliating though, right, Shannon? You're still doing a little bit of exfoliating, but it's not peeling off a couple of layers.
Yes, we're not peeling off any layers of skin. No. So this product, this lemon, sugar, and water, it just adheres to the dry skin. So it's not, sometimes people think it's like a sugar scrub that will scrub off the hair, but it's not. You can see it's very smooth. This one is not quite as warm. It hasn't been.
So it's like a sugar paste.
This sugar paste, it actually rolls smoothly over the skin. It looks like taffy. It rolls smoothly over the skin, and then it just slides the hair out very gently. Again, it's not hot. It will never burn you. And it's actually very good for the skin. So back in the day in the war, the medics would have bags of sugar on their belt. And if a soldier was wounded, the medic would run out to the battlefield and actually pour sugar in the wound to
Yeah,
keep that
pack it.
wound clean. So it's very sanitary, it's very safe, and it actually doesn't hurt as much, which is the most important to me at the time, because again, I'm a big wuss and I did not like hot wax pulling things out of my skin. So sugar has been the most wonderful addition to my skincare practice and to my own face.
Now, if somebody wants to get sugared thin,
Mhm.
I do not offer any ancillary protocols. All I do in my clinic now, since the reopening after this thing that's going on in the world, I only do facials. So you have a website, right, to
Mhm.
direct people to that they can find your certified graduates
Correct.
if they're looking
So
for someone that wants that wants
yes.
the sugar paste, the sugaring.
Yes. So it's very interesting to know that if anyone is performing a service on you as a client, they need to be a licensed esthetician or cosmetologist in your state. Now, even further from that, if they are performing a hair removal service, such as sugaring, we actually encourage them to be certified. So we have designed a directory. It's called thesugarnetwork.com. And thesugarnetwork.com is a listing of everyone in the United States and Canada that is a certified sugaring professional. So you can just type in your city in the box at the top. It just says city and state. You can type in Austin, Texas, or Sacramento, California, or wherever you're located, and it will pull up a list of people that have been certified in the art of body sugaring to take hair off of your skin. And what's really critical about that is understanding that you want someone who's been truly educated on this. They haven't just taught themselves on YouTube and bought a jar of it on Amazon, but they are true professionals who understand the skin, especially if you are someone who has medically sensitive skin. We can sugar clients who are, some people wonder if they're diabetic, if they can still sugar. You don't have to eat the sugar that just rolls over the top of the skin, so it's still safe. But there are folks that maybe have had chemo or radiation, and with their doctors okay, this is actually oncology approved service. So you can remove the hair very gently and safely with a trained professional. So the sugarnetwork.com is where you would go first to find someone in your area that can sugar you properly.
Okay, now if for a licensed professional, licensed esthetician or a licensed cosmetologist, then you also have trainings that you offer the trainings. I've got a question. Where are you in the world today? I kind of caught a snippet of you yesterday, and you were in Las Vegas, I think, in that really neat looking flannel
My
shirt.
yellow, I love that you're
Yellow and
wearing
white. It's
yellow.
like, I want that. Those are my colors.
Yes, I love that you're
Where are
wearing
you
yellow
today?
because sugar is made, as you know, with lemon, sugar, and water. So I have, let's see this side. I have lemons all over the place. I'm normally wearing yellow or blue. And we have uh, estheticians all over the country. Sometimes you'll see me in Las Vegas teaching estheticians there. I teach schools there. Euphoria there in Las Vegas has 70 estheticians that are learning at a time. So we'll teach all of them. I've taught
That's fun.
schools in Texas on Zoom, like we are doing today. And I'll be in Florida teaching there. I'm here in Sacramento. We'll be going up to Chicago. We teach at various skincare shows. Our goal is to share the love of sugar. And our goal is really to make sure that not only is the public well educated and finds a certified pro in their area, but estheticians are well educated. So we have a school. It's actually called iSugar University. It started 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago. Gosh,
Wow.
it goes by so fast. Um,
Yeah.
but people can go to love to sugar. It's love the number 2 and sugar.com. And they can learn how to sugar and get certified with us. And they can grow their sugar business with our network of amazing estheticians that are learning and growing their businesses with just this little lemon, sugar, and water. So I used to be an esthetician that did facials only. I didn't really love to wax because I didn't like to hurt people. But when I got into sugaring, it was such a success. And my clients did name me the sugar mama that I just started doing sugaring full time. And now our place is 100% sugar. We don't have a wax pot in the entire place. And all of our students have quickly switched from wax to sugar as well. It's pretty exciting.
Speaking of that type of thing, when you're inspected, a state inspector, of course, every state and country, community, even has different rules and regulations for inspections. What kind of inspection is done with the sugaring? Do you have a can of sugar out? Because there's no dipping. That's another thing that we might bring up too. There's no strips and there's no sticks.
No, there's no mess.
So there's no waste of that. So what you just have that on your counter or on your work table or your trolley or cart?
Well, so to answer your first question, every state board has different regulations and you need to follow your state board's regulations, but sugaring falls under the hair removal category. So similarly to wax, you would make sure that your tools were obviously in a clean sanitary area, that your pot was always covered. We have lids on our sugar jars, so they're always covered. The beauty, as you referred to, of sugar is there is no reason to go back to the sugar pot. So with wax, we would actually use individual sticks. Now, we know that in this day and age, good waxers do not double dip, meaning they don't take this stick and use it every time inside that same, use the same stick and go back and dip back into the pot. No double dipping. But with sugar, we actually for this purpose, used a stick to show you, but we actually use our hand with a glove on it. And we use our hand to roll that sugar over the top of the skin. And we never go back to the sugar pot. We always use just one little ball of sugar. We'll do an entire area and we don't need to go back to the sugar pot. So we will never double dip. And the only thing that we need is our hand, the glove, and a little bit of sugar. So we just take that glove off and dispose of the gloves. And many gloves nowadays are biodegradable. So it's just lemon, sugar, water, and a biodegradable glove. We don't need a pile of strips and sticks and garbage to be causing a lot of waste. So our clients love it because it's not hot. It's great for the skin. They don't feel like we're using a bunch of products and chemicals on them. And they have confidence that their esthetician is choosing the best form of hair removal for them. And, I will say something about the over 50 crowd. We are very savvy about what people put on our faces and our bodies. And I will tell you that a lot of my clients that are over 50 actually still get their Brazilians done. Yes. My oldest clients are 84. And I say are because it's a husband and wife. They both come in and get a Brazilian at 84 years old. So I hope that I have that much swagger when I'm 84 and I have a partner that can keep up with me when I'm 84. But I mean, there really is no age limit to sugaring the body.
Since we're speaking about someone you're saying in the 80s, it brings up the topic of those really stiff single hairs around here and there or here. Will one swipe or one application of the sugar paste, will that take those out, or can you go over it multiple times? I know it's the waxes, and we're not here to really compare, but I guess we are comparing because that's what I'm doing. Yes. What about
with wax? With wax, you're not able to go over the skin more than twice. Some of the low temperature waxes, you can probably go over a second time. But with sugar, there's no limit unless the skin, is really, really sensitive. You can go over as many times as you need. And what happens I'm going to bring my carrot back. What happens with those hormonal hairs is this part of the carrot and the carrot itself is just stubborn and thick and coarse. So when that hair just will not come out of the follicle, all we do is keep packing that sugar down. So say the hair is in the follicle like this, right? We put the sugar in, we lift it up. We pack the sugar down a little bit more the second pass, and we lift it up, and it's still stubborn and it still won't come out. All we have to do is pack that sugar down just a little bit more and we'll get that whole hair. Now, what happens as well, Jill, if you have a follicle that's just been emptied of its hair, right?
Mhm.
That follicle will actually stop growing back a hair as fast because we've taken all of its delicious nutrients and hair completely out of that follicle. So it takes a while for that hair to grow back in. And that hair will actually be a lot slower and a lot finer when it grows back. So people love sugar because it removes that whole hair. And when it grows back, it's not nearly as prickly and sharp and thick.
Because there are the 3 stages of hair growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is like a baby fine hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the hair itself, the thickness of the hair really just depends on the follicle it's growing out of. So the baby fine hair that you see on the face, it's always going to be that vellus hair, majority of it, which is that baby fine hair. So it's actually, some people think that when that we remove the hair that it'll grow back thicker, or that when we remove the lip hair, it'll grow back thicker, right? But that's actually not true. What happens is for some people, like if they shave, it feels thicker because it's this stubbly part.
Yeah.
Right? But what happens with that hormonal hair, when we slide that thick hormonal hair, it's still the same kind of hair, which is, a little bit thicker. It just grows wimpier, for lack of a more professional term. And the way I
Thank
like
you
to
for
describe
explaining that to us. Yes.
yeah, the way I like to explain it to my clients is imagine a different vegetable. Imagine an onion. So you have an onion has a bulb and a stalk, right? That onion is down deep in that follicle. When we sugar it out, and it takes a time or two, sometimes you might still feel a little bit of that hormonal hair. It becomes, instead of a bulb and a stalk, it becomes more of a scallion. So it's still an onion. It just doesn't have that big anchor bulb that wants to hang out down in there. It just slims the hair out and it becomes easier to slide out. So every time we sugar, it becomes easier and easier.
So every time that a person is sugared, then is it going to minimize the appearance of the pores? Well,
because you don't have such thick hair kind of expanding that follicle. You don't have a thick hair growing through that. It's kind of wimpy and thin now. So it kind of just, wimpy is like a finer hair that grows out. Still the same kind of hair. It just gets thinner. And so that follicle isn't stretched by having that big fat hair in it. So it does make the appearance of the skin look much more smooth, and your makeup goes on gorgeous as well.
Yes, good point there.
Some people don't realize, and especially for the men that are listening to this episode, that you can actually sugar nose hairs, and you can sugar ears, and you can sugar the back of the neck. And so to have the hair, some of those guys that have hair coming out their ears, you can actually just sugar that hair right out of the ear with very little irritation. And noses, not only the inside of the nose, those hairs that grow out of the inside of the nose, but some people have hairs that grow on the nose, and we can sugar those out as well.
Are those like whiskers, or are they more like hair?
Their hair. Their hair that's just growing out of the nose.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've seen it, and it's like, not an inside nose hair, but it doesn't look like a whisker either. So it's actually hair. Okay. Yes. So let's address acid mantle.
Mm-hmm.
We create our own, and it comes out of our pores. So is sugaring better so that a person's acid mantle can be replenished sooner than if they were waxed or shave?
So I would
or would
imagine
it be about the
if
same?
you think about the barrier of the skin, if you think about that, this is especially as we get older, it's a very gentle layer of skin, right? So we don't
Yes.
want to be over using peels or using products that are too strong, because it actually will, it just damages that layer of skin. Well, sugar doesn't do that. It's just lemon, sugar, and water. The pH balance is right there, gentle for the skin. And so it just exfoliates the top layer, which is actually really beautiful because the skin has a chance to replenish itself without all that dry skin on the top. Again, if you were doing the
Okay.
face, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So products are able to penetrate better because that top dry layer, again, if you're sugaring the whole face, that top dry layer of skin is off. So the skin becomes healthier, and it doesn't break down the skin as easily. So that crepiness, that dryness that people get, won't experience that.
Yeah. And then some people on as we age, as we grow up, then
Mature.
yes, the skin is thinner here on our
Hmm.
arms,
Hmm.
even if it's not on our face. So the sugaring
Absolutely.
technique would be a lot better than trying to singe it off or something,
Yes,
or
we're not going to
wax,
put
because
chemicals. Right.
you can't
No
wax, you
chemicals
can't
on the skin.
wax.
Correct. And because it is not, it's sticky, but it doesn't stick to the skin in such a way. Like, again, it's just taking the dry, dead skin off and the hairs out of the follicles. It's not taking the rest of the skin with it. And there's no heat. So it's not going to cause any sort of swelling or redness. It's really the best choice when it comes to hair removal for sensitive skin.
Okay. Um, could not pull the graphic up where I had your name on here. I'm so sorry. But
That's okay.
Shannon O'Brien, uh, and she's known as the Sugar Mama, and
Mhm.
it's
Love2sugar.com.
thesugernetwork.com, right?
Mhm.
Okay, let's address one thing, since this is broadcast on many platforms and worldwide. Let's address the issue of people who want to do this DIY thing and suddenly make their own sugar. You sell your own brand of sugar because you manufacture it, right?
I do not manufacture sugar. No, I leave that to the formulators that have done a beautiful job. This goes all the way back to the Egyptian days. We are actually a company that supports professional sugar supply lines, and we
Okay,
support, yeah. So the folks
but
that
it's done
create.
professionally, like it has inspectors or that type of thing,
Correct. Correct.
because I want
So
to
in order
discourage.
Correct. So in order for so let me address this in two ways. In order for an esthetician to be insured in the United States, you need to be someone who's educated and using a product that is made by a professional supplier, because professional suppliers have clean rooms and protocols to keep the product safe. So they're not just whipping it up in some dirty kitchen in the back, in the back shed. They are actually have facilities that have been inspected that are creating this product for the public's use. So as licensed professionals, we make sure that we are always using products that are safe for our clients. So there are professional sugar supply companies out there that are making these products in large batches, very strict protocols, and clean environments, so that all of the products that are put on the client's skin are clean, right? Because we have to be very careful. So I'm going to address DIY with sugar because it is possible to make your own sugar. We have been making sugar in the world since Egypt centuries ago. And grandmas and aunties and back in the Middle East, in fact, sometimes still today, they will make sugar in their kitchen and use it on each other personally in the comfort of their home. You cannot take that product, especially here in the US, and then use it on your customers because there is no regulation on your home. it's a food product, right? So it's, again, lemon, sugar, and water condensed down into a paste. It's very similar to a restaurant needs to prepare a meal for consumers in a safe environment, in a commercial kitchen if they're baking muffins, or in a professional restaurant that has been overseen by a governing body. You can't just like whip up stuff in your kitchen, out in your house in the country, and then bring it in and serve it to folks. That's just not how it works. And so in order to make sure that we are being safe for our customers, we make sure that we purchase supplies as licensed estheticians and cosmetologists that are for professional use only. So yes, you can make sugar. Again, it's just lemon, sugar, and water condensed into a paste. But to keep it consistent and clean and professional, you need to be purchasing it from a sugar supplier. So yeah, so we are very, very, at Love to Sugar, we are, as a company, we are very clear that licensed estheticians certify themselves in body sugaring and purchase professional products so that their clients, have a consistent service and are not worrying about where their sugar came from.
Yes, because it would be difficult to have something is the way that we have to sanitize, sterilize, disinfect our clinics and shops and spas and salons. Then making something at home, it's not under the same guidelines. And I just wanted to discourage anyone who may be watching that decides, well, I'm just going to make my own and do my own sugaring, there could be bacteria.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'll tell you, Jill,
professionals buy from professionals.
For sure. Yeah. And I'll tell you, Love, there's a lot of DIY YouTube recipes out there, and I see more failed attempts than I see successful attempts. There's plenty of people who make their own sugar with success and use it at home. However, it's very similar to making candy. It's lemon, sugar, and water. You boil it on a stove or in a giant pot, and if you're not careful, you can suffer severe burns from using sugar that's too hot. It will severely burn the skin. Again, if somebody just tests it quick on their arm, it's not like wax. A sugar burn is very severe. So you have to be very, very careful. And if you don't have the recipe just perfect, you end up with a hard ball of like goo or like gum, right? Mm-hmm. And that does not feel good on the skin. So to perfect this, it really does take a lot of trial and error. So I highly recommend, besides the fact that you just shouldn't use home products on your clients, even if you're someone who wanted to try it on yourself, I highly recommend being very, very careful if you just are playing around with it, because, you can hurt yourself for sure.
Is this beet sugar or sugarcane sugar? What is the base of the sugar?
Well, different sugar supply companies are
very
secretive about which kind of sugar they use. Some are cane sugar, some are turbinado sugar, some use, there's all different kinds of secret recipes. The water is usually just distilled water. And then the lemon part, some companies use citric acid, which is powdered form of lemon, and some use lemon juice. There's a company that uses a little bit of the lemon oil. But besides that, it's just lemon, sugar, and water. And citric acid is actually safe to use in cosmetic products as well.
Yes. It's in almost everything.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yes. Well, when you say the word acid, it doesn't feel very natural, but it absolutely is.
Yeah, I know. Shannon, do you have anything else to add? Because this has been a delightful visit with you and chat with you. And I have learned so much. I always do when I'm talking with you. And
thank you.
I'm sure that viewers are well informed now and getting some good information.
Yes. I'll close out, Jill, by saying that I think that sometimes the older that we get, the more mature we get, we feel like one of two ways. We either feel like we need to work harder to make everything perfect and take the hair out. And then sometimes we feel like, we kind of give up. You see the ladies that just let the chin hairs grow or let the eyebrows grow crazy, right? And especially the men that let that sugar come out of their ears. And I will say to you that no matter what your age, I love sugar to remove hair and to help you just feel a little more smooth and like you have your swagger. And like I said, I have clients that, maybe are back on the dating scene and they don't feel as young as
Right.
they did when they were first dating in their 20s and they just want to get their swagger back. And sometimes a freshly sugared face or even a little bikini for one of those cruises that you go on, it just can make all the difference in the way that you feel about yourself. And so there are options out there for you to just help you feel better. Or maybe you are someone who has struggled with your hormones or struggled with being on medications that just don't make you feel pretty, and we have ways now. These ways have been around for centuries, and now we're really just getting the word out. So if you are listening to this podcast or this live stream, and you are someone who's like, I'm going to start something new for 2022. I'm going to get my swagger back. Sugaring is a great way for you to get started, and you can find a professional sugar pro that is certified in body sugaring on thesugarnetwork.com, and they will take very sweet care of you.
That way they can have happy skin over 50, right?
That's right.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, audience, for joining us.
I love it. See you soon.